If you move away from a place, you will lose your friends. Society has not taught us how to foster our social relationships, and if we keep on this way, humanity is probably going to peter out. I hate to say this to you, but people don't keep a track of one another very often, especially if they're in close proximity, and if they're far, hardly ever. Society has not geared us to believe that we need to foster our relationships once we become accustomed to them. Once we have become desensitized to the beauty that lies within our friendships or our love relations, we fail to keep the mesh that binds us to these people. It's difficult to comprehend a world in which everyone keeps track of one another consistently, mainly because it doesn't exist currently, especially in the Western world. Our society has been fragmented, you see, by technology, sure, but just our own need to survive, right? Need to make money, have a job, be in secure relationships. It's very difficult for the average person, at least in America, to keep track of more than probably about 5 people consistently. Now, each of us has a different requirement for what we need in relationships, right? Our friends or significant other, our parents, siblings, each of us has a different language that we speak to, so to say, a different way that we need to be approached in order to feel cared for. How do we understand this about ourselves, and how do we understand this about other people without a system that does not give us the tools to do so, let alone give us a sense of importance in maintaining those relationships and forming them in the first place? If you think about it, elementary school was a time, if you had the chance to go, where a lot of children are out and about playing in the schoolyard. There's recess, there's lunch, there's a lot of scheduled downtime outside of education, for better or worse. Children are given the opportunity to go and socialize and be cared for or not be cared for, and learn how other humans interact with one another. Super important. As we move further and further up into middle school and high school, we start being given less time to socialize. And it gets to a point where after you graduate your last educational curriculum, you are in the working world. And the working world leaves very little time to socialize, at least in the eyes of people that do not prioritize socialization or stop prioritizing socialization earlier on in their education, particularly those people that are looking to be successful in their lives, make a lot of money, and maybe be comfortable, have a job that gives them everything they want. This happens a lot of the time somewhere around sophomore year of high school for most people trying to apply to medical degrees, where they kind of sit at home and they hunker down. They're like, okay, I want to go to a good college. After that, if they have the chance, they go to a good college and they want to get to a good graduate degree where they study their ass off again. All the meanwhile, probably losing the sense of soul and the sense of community that was once built all the way back in elementary school. And I can't help but believe, or at least think, that this is hindering the progress of society, because in my opinion, the happiest, most productive people are the ones that feel loved. Now, I can speak from personal experience that having moved and having changed positions in education a lot in my life, the people that I held as people that I love, people that are part of my community and my circle, often have let me down. And I'm sure that a lot of you have had similar situations, maybe not even moving, maybe just changing friend groups and, things fall apart. But things eventually fall together, and I'll go into that later in the video. But I've had a lot of situations where, because of the circumstance, I get very close to certain people. And when that circumstance breaks, or when that circumstance is no longer a thing, I feel a falling out altogether. There is no sense of connection as there once was, where once I believed that we are connected because of our values. Sure, partially. What I realized later on is that we're just connected because of our circumstance. Now, it's easy to point the finger, right? If you point one hand somewhere, there's about 3 fingers at least pointed back at you. That usually means that the fault is first and foremost our own for anything that we feel is deficient. Sure. So when I calculate my own fault, perhaps I don't hit up my friends as much as I should. Perhaps I don't give them the love or the attention that they feel they deserve or need from people. Sure. But I would argue I do reach out more than most people. And I find myself in times in life where I recede back into saying, hey, if these people are going to treat me this way, then I'm going to treat them this way too. Probably not a good way to go about doing things, because you should be the change you want to see in the world. If I want a society that is more social and friend groups that are more robust and stand the test of distance and time, then I should foster such things and explain to people how I feel, probably. This video is one of those ways. But there isn't a consistent way to feel that connection with people in our current society. There's not some place that most people can go and expect to see people in their community at. That's something that I'm reading in this book, Palaces for the People, recommended by one of my book club members, a community that's been built on Zoom and hopefully lasts the test of time and spans distance. Social infrastructure is such an important way to keep communities together and to give people that are prone to loneliness an option to be seen and also to go and interact with others. What I've realized in my own life is that because I am prioritizing productivity currently in my late 20s, I want to get to some place in my 40s. These social places that I can go and hang out, I don't do as much. And this is kind of a lack, I suppose, on my part of trying to get out of places as quickly as possible. I'll give you an example of my school. There's a cafeteria. However, the irony of it is the cafeteria being on the 4th floor actually limits your access to the exit, right? So you're done with work, whatever, and then you eventually go down the stairs. But in order to socialize again, you have to go back up the stairs. Now, I had an interest in architecture for a long time in college, and I still kind of do. And I found really fascinating the idea that spaces imply the function, right? Form implies function. That's everywhere in biology, used a lot in good architecture. And what I realized is that if the priority, which is currently the case, of most institutions is not to give people a sense of love and a sense of community, then they will choose poor architectural decisions because they've never cared about such things, right? It just shows that the way that Western society is currently is not prioritizing love, compassion, emotional intelligence, because it apparently is too difficult to do for leaders, something to foster. There is a sense of productivity that you need to have, alone time that you need to have in order to excel in society. Sure. But why is that? I suppose this is just me complaining about how things have turned out, but I have a feeling that we're going to need the other thing as a species in order to move forward, in order to have a collective purpose of moving forward and creating positive change in not only our society as humans, but also as a part of the ecosystem, as the planet as a whole. We need to start thinking about the things that make us feel good that we don't have words and we don't have money for, right? Those communities, the social outlets, the infrastructure, the forethought of leaders to create spaces where people can come and hang out and just feel like their stress can be taken off, right? A sense of love from their community. Anyway, my thoughts for today. I hope you enjoyed them. And if you're looking to have a community, a more social outlet, what I would suggest is taking a chance. Take a chance. Go somewhere that you haven't been able to convince yourself to go for a long time. And my promise to you is I'll go to this cafeteria. I'll go and check it out and see just how it feels, you know, and to see if I get that love that I'm looking for, I suppose. And I hope you find it too. Check out this video right here where I talk more about some of the changes that society is going through and some of the ways that we can affect it positively, hopefully. Remember, actualize your potential. Take care, my friend.